Ask you, in general, did the Tea Party movement, which seemed to be such this incredible force, did it end up hurting Republicans more than helping Republicans in this backlash here? You look at Harry Reid, who ran against a Tea Partier and won, Christine O'Donnell, another one, Ken Buck, who got, as you say, labeled a Tea Party candidate. Did the Tea Party give, and I would also argue that the Tea Party movement helped Dan Mays win the primary over McGinnis and then collapse. And McGinnis, I think, would have had a better shot than Tancredo at Hickenlooper.
I think so too, because there were all these people that said, oh, who cares about a little plagiarism scandal? I mean, it would have been rougher, but you have to remember, before the plagiarism scandal broke, McGinnis was pulling ahead of...
By 9 points at one point.
Of Hickenlooper, no matter what gaffe he did. You know, fought with a conservative or a right-leaning radio show. I mean, you're fighting with Silverman, you know, Caplis and Silverman, please. So I don't know, but Colorado is always that kind of island unto itself, and it really showed that this time, because I was talking to, by 2 in the morning, a political Republican operative who had clearly been drinking and was like, where's our tidal wave? How come we don't get the tidal wave? How come we're not winning everything?
Where's our tsunami? Help me understand this dichotomy that happened last night, in that I'm seeing the governor become Hickenlooper, Bennett wins, but yet the other statewide races go to Republicans. I was surprised to see Walker Stapleton win over a very affable Kerry Kennedy, who most people seem to enjoy and like. The Bernie Busher fight, Scott Gessler winning handily there for Secretary of State. These are the other statewide seats, and of course the AG, John Suthers, all go to Republicans, but the two big ones go to Democrats. Help me.
I wasn't all that surprised, and I'll tell you why. I think the big races get all the attention. They're all the ads you see, they dominate the media coverage, and so those are more about personalities, especially the governor's race, but the Senate race also in this state, given all the advertising dollars spent there, you really got a sense of who Michael Bennet and Ken Buck were. Same thing with all the the candidates for governor, given the drama there. Down the ballot, though, I mean, you know, most people who aren't engaged in the process, like they don't know who Walker Stapleton or Kerry Kennedy is.
It's not like it's at the end of the ballot.
No,
it's not
the state treasurer.
It's not the coroner for the county. You know, it goes governor, senator, state treasurer,
Actually,
AG.
I think it's senator, Congress, and then you reach
I think it's easier for people to just vote the ticket on those races where they're just not as sure of who these personalities are.
So that being the case, then Ken Buck must have turned off Republican leading either Republicans or unaffiliated.
I think moderates.
I think he totally turned off moderates. I think the month of October was hard for him, and people were like going, what does he stand for? And he'd made these mistakes, and you know, he's I actually thought a very endearing primary candidate, but I don't think he was as endearing in the general election.
Let's move on to the local stuff. Actually, before we do that, let's stay with the feds. Let's do Congress. I don't think anyone was surprised Markey is out of a job. And I'm a little surprised that Scott Tipton won with such a margin on the Western Slope, although people saw that coming. The 7th congressional, I thought, would be a little tighter. I thought Ryan Fraser would be right in there, neck and neck, maybe lose by a couple points. He lost by, what, 11, 12 points?
It looks like to be 11. Yeah, 13 or 11. And I think Perlmutter's own people had him winning by 6, so even they were stunned by that. But it goes to show you, Ed Perlmutter is representing the district he was born in, raised in, represented in the state Senate. He seems to know everyone, and that's a really important deal when you're going in a race that's more localized. I mean, I noticed that Ed carried Arapahoe County, and Ryan's the Aurora City Councilman there. But everywhere you went, people were like, oh, I know Ed Perlmutter. Remember his ad in the grocery store?
Right.
2 of the 3 people talking about how great Ed was were Republicans.
The ironic
we never said Republicans were smart. I just said there were a lot of us.
You know what was funny about this, though? You look at the 3 Democratic incumbents who were up last night. Right. And the one who won, Ed Perlmutter, is arguably the most liberal of the 3. John Salazar is a moderate, Betsy Markey, they're both blue dog Democrats, conservative. Markey did everything she could to kind of move back to the middle almost from the beginning.
And she had to, because she was in a right-leaning district.
She had to. Ed Perlmutter is easily the most liberal of those 3, and in the district that is split down the middle, obviously the other 2 districts, I think the voter registration numbers favor Republicans, and I think even if, you know, John Salazar is a popular brand, the Salazar brand,
right.
The Democratic brand being unpopular sort of carried the day out there. And obviously the fourth up there, that's Republican territory, probably never really belonged in Democratic hands anyway, but Markey won it on the 2008 wave with Obama. It's the 7th district that was created as a swing district, and it didn't swing last night in an election where a lot of people thought this is the time that district will swing back to
the
the
old
right.
saying that wherever Jefferson County goes, so goes the state. Does that hold true in 2010?
Well, it did for the congressionals. I haven't broken down the governor's race yet. Well, Bennett won there.
We looked, that was some of the earlier returns
Right.
that we got last night, and we were looking at Jefferson County on our air with Rob Whitwer and Andrew Romanoff, and they both looked at Jeffco and they said, ooh, Bennett's winning in Jeffco. This is very early. This is a very small sample of the returns coming in. And Rob Whitwer, Republican, said Bennett might win, but just based on Jefferson County and the early returns there on the margin.
But it wasn't that small of a sample. I think that's misleading when you say that, because so many people vote early ballot now
Right.
that when you do that first dump, it's a lot. I looked at that first, what was it, 7/12 when they
Yeah. Right.
released their first thing, and I called up the Perlmutter campaign. I said, "You guys just won." They said, "What are you looking at? What are you talking about?" And I go, "I'm looking at the Jeffco results. You're up by like 12%. They go, "That's impossible," and that's.
Yeah, it held.
Let's bring it to the House and Senate here in Colorado. The stuff that most people don't follow, the good stuff, which really impacts Coloradans far more than a lot of their federal votes. You know, this was going to be the Republican year. We're going to win back the House for certain. And the other night, we were told we won back the State House for certain by one entire vote. Now, we're recording this the day after Wednesday. When this airs on Friday night, do you think that's still going to be the case?
Likely, but there are two seats that Democrats now are losing, but their provisional ballots haven't been counted. Democrats, concede that it would be tough to turn those numbers, but it could happen.
Which seats?
We're talking about Debbie Benefield in Jefferson County and Diane Primavera in 4 counties, but Broomfield, Boulder,
Right.
Weld. I think there's 15 votes in Weld, Adams. But those are the 2 races that for certain they're looking at, saying, hey, wait a minute, they're down now, but things could change. But let's say that the Republicans do win those, okay? They've won the House, which they haven't had the power since 2000.
By one single. And
we were going to
win by several votes. What went wrong?
And in the Senate, they only pick up 1 of the seats, so they're still down by 5. I think part of it is quality of candidates. And the other thing is for everybody's ballot, the Democrats raised taxes, or they raised fees, or they did that, or they did the tax credits. I remember talking to a political consultant who said it's going to be hard to turn out some of these people because there's not necessarily a reason to turn them out. That the Democrats didn't go up there and do bizarro stuff. Now you may disagree with, I know the sentiment on the property tax and all of that, faster, the auto increases. And I think sometimes too, it's the white noise. There's so many attack ads. I asked everybody to bring theirs in, so I read a lot of them. And I thought that the attacks were so not focused. When you mention every single financial thing going at the Capitol, why not do one thing? You're paying more for your car because this person, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Why not pick 1 or 2 issues and run on that instead of, here's everything the Democrats did in the last 6 years, throw them out,
Give me your take on the State House.
I think looking ahead, I think if Republicans can hold on to this thin majority in the State House, it's huge for them. It's a huge bargaining chip in the redistricting
if
battle
Republicans
that's coming
can
up.
keep it together.
If they can keep it together. So that's huge because they have one place to block.
But let's remember Caldara's political
Right.
axiom number 1, there is nothing Republicans can't screw up. And when it comes to a 1-vote majority, we have a few Republicans that like to wander off to La La Land.
You mean people with their own minds who vote their district? Those people?
Yeah, the crazy ones. That's what I'm talking about.
Russ George when he was there. Who else?
Oh, we could go through.
Well, I think one of the things, and Lynn was probably going to pick up on this also, but we said John Hickenlooper is the luckiest politician in the state, given the dynamics in the race.
Right.
This may also be a lucky break for him because the Democrats may not own everything down there at the Capitol anymore. So a lot of more liberal pieces of legislation that may be controversial and tough for him to sign won't ever make it to his desk. And he may be lucky in that if he can sit there and foster consensus in the governor's office and say, hey, I'm just bringing the Democrats here together in the Senate with the Republicans in the House, we're just getting stuff done.
I mean, it is going to be a whole different gig for Mayor Hickenlooper. To be a strong mayor in a liberal city, he did a superb job of bringing coalitions together. This is a whole different thing. He's going to deal with fractions and factions all across the state. He's going to deal with $1 billion shortfall. This is going to be a different